Let's talk lab testing. In my clinic, I utilize a lot of lab testing. So in addition to listening to you and reading your intake form and spending a lot of time with you trying to uncover what's going on, and again, we go through the Myers-Way Comprehensive Elimination Diet. In addition, I use a lot of lab testing. So there are two broad categories of lab testing that I use. One is what we call the conventional labs, and that's what you're probably most familiar with, things that you've done through your regular doctor already, checking your cholesterol, your thyroid, perhaps even your vitamin D. So I check all of those as well. In fact, I check a lot more, and then I interpret it differently. I look for optimal rather than just normal. And of course, I'm listening to you and your symptoms, and that will help guide me in addressing and looking at those labs. The second type that we do are what are called the functional medicine labs. And those are really the state-of-the-art lab kits that go to functional medicine lab testing companies throughout the country that specialize in this. These are really the things that are going to help me uncover the root cause of your health issue. So there are 4 tests that I order most commonly. Of course, again, in your visit, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to customize this for you and figure out what are the tests and put them in priority for you so we can figure out which we're going to tackle first or how we're going to approach this. But I will say, if I can only do one test, it's going to be a comprehensive stool analysis. Your gut is really the gateway to health. So that's where I'm going to look first. In addition to going through the Myers-Way Comprehensive Elimination Diet, I'm going to have you do a stool test. So in that test, what it's going to tell me is what's the level of your good bacteria? What about your bad bacteria? Do you have any infections, candida, or parasites? It's also going to go in and tell me how you're digesting and absorbing your food. From this, I gather a lot of information. From there, we can do food sensitivity testing. Now, this is very different than food allergy testing. That's what an allergist does. They're looking for an IgE or immediate reaction. If you have one of those, you probably already know about it. You eat a strawberry, you break out into hives. What I'm looking for is an IgG reaction. This is a delayed food sensitivity. So you might wake up and think, I have a bagel every morning for breakfast and I get a migraine. Somebody mentioned maybe going gluten-free might solve my migraine. So I decide not to have a bagel that morning and I still get my migraine in the afternoon. So then I think, well, it's not the gluten. Well, it could be, because it actually could be from the gluten or the bagel that you had 2 days ago that's finally coming out. So we can do some testing on your blood work to see if you have any food sensitivities. Now, again, I believe your body knows better than any test, so I prefer you to go through the Myers-Way Elimination Diet, but we can use this food sensitivity testing as an adjunct to determine additional foods. The third most common test that I use is something called an ion panel. Now, this is a very complex 27-page long test that I do that tells me all about your nutritional status. It tells me about your amino acids, which are the building blocks of our proteins and our muscles, and ultimately our neurotransmitters, which are the little chemicals that keep your brain and your mind working optimally and keeping your mood even and level. It also goes in and tells me about vitamin levels inside your red blood cells, as well as how your little mitochondria, the powerhouses of your cells, are working, and about B vitamins. So I use this test most commonly on people with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, autoimmune, anxiety, depression, autism, ADD. I've had really great success getting people off of all of their medications using this test. So it's one of my favorites as well. Then probably the fourth most common test that I do is hormone testing. I do a very specific test if I'm going to put you on bioidentical hormones about how you actually process your hormones, your estrogens in particular, and looking at your risk factors for cancer if we were to do something like that. So the sky's kind of the limit. Those are just the 4 most common that I use. I also do Lyme testing, heavy metal testing, testing for toxic molds in your environment and in your system. Again, I'm really listening to you and figuring out what are the right tests that I need in order to uncover what is really going on with you so we can get down to the root cause of your illness and get you out of that boat and get you off those meds and get you back to feeling great.